Hello and welcome to another episode of Speak with Confidence, a podcast brought to you by Princeton Toastmasters. Today on the podcast, we have our current president, Meekah Reeves, who joins us for a conversation on her journey in Toastmasters and how she has led the club this year as the president of Princeton Toastmasters. Meekah Reeves, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ritu. Good to be here.
Meekah, when I was going through your background, I realized you are a licensed professional psychotherapist. Before we go into your this year as a president, I would love to understand a bit about your professional journey and who you are outside of Toastmasters.
Absolutely. I am a Christian life coach and psychotherapist who specializes in women's mental health issues. And I've been in the practice for over 25 years. I received like my master's in social work from Columbia University and my BA in psychology in 2008. I'm sorry, in 2005. I enjoy horseback riding and spending time with family. I went into social work because I love helping people and creating bridges between people and bringing people together. Yeah, and it's been a wonderful journey. I also enjoy nature walks and enjoying fine cuisines in the area.
That is lovely to hear. I see a bit of your professional life at Toastmasters as well, because I have seen you as someone who loves to help people. I see you as someone who loves to elevate people. We've been part of the board with you this year, and I have seen how you have acknowledged everyone and worked wonderfully as a leader with the team this year. So it's been fantastic working with you, and I see why you are so good at these things because you're also professionally a psychotherapist who helps people. Wonderful to have people from different walks of life at our club. I think we are really, really blessed. But tell me, how did Toastmasters happen to you? How did you know about Toastmasters? When did you join Toastmasters? And tell me a bit about how that journey has been for you.
I used to have a slight stutter when I first
Oh,
started working as a budding interning social worker. I also had slight dyslexia and severe crippling anxiety. I would come to a point where I would want to express myself or share something with someone I didn't know. I would freeze up or blank out or just stutter my way right out of the conversation. And the person had no idea what I was trying to say or communicate. And that's when I realized I really needed to do some research and get some help and some support in that area so I could come off more articulate and grow in that area. And I really was a firm believer in, instead of running away from a challenge, I really wanted to lean into it and grow from it. And eventually, at some point, be able to share what was inside of me and share my gold. And
right. So,
like I said, I did some research and found Princeton Toastmasters and came to a meeting and there I was. I was getting feedback and they were cultivating something inside of me. And I found before I knew it, I was getting up there getting speeches. I was paired with a mentor, but also I feel like the whole club in a way took me under their wings, all the seasoned members at the time, some who are still members even to this day, would give me that gift of feedback and do it in such a wonderful, positive, supportive way where I could really take what they gave me and build on it. I felt really empowered.
that is so nice to hear, Mika, because I cannot make out that you had ever a stutter or public speaking anxiety because I have seen you in the club for years now, and if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't know. But this is remarkable from your journey. What you're talking about is, you actually had anxiety while speaking, and not only that, you had a stutter. And look at you now. You are taking workshop on public speaking anxiety. What a remarkable journey that is. And that's the power of Toastmasters, I feel. It gives you enough playground to practice. It has a very supportive community. And I think the more you speak, you get out of the fear of speaking one to many. So it's so wonderful to hear your journey, really. And it's been about 8 or 9 years that you've been a Toastmaster. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's been a journey. Yeah.
It's been a
And I feel like, yeah, every year I feel like I've learned something new. And even to this day, I feel like I'm still learning. And that's something that I truly appreciate about our club is that we all take learning and growth so seriously, very seriously, and not just our own growth seriously with regards to learning, but also of each other. And we value that.
You have also not only taken roles, mentored club members, but you've also been on the board twice now. You started as VP of Education, which was 2 years back. Tell us something about that role and did it challenge you in any way? Did it help you in your own leadership journey? Take us through some of those bits about your year as a VP Education.
Absolutely. My year as serving as VP of Education, was just a tremendous, a wonderful experience for me as a leader and as a club member because I actually took it upon myself. I didn't have to, but to actually reach out to members individually to really find out if they could fill a role, especially when those last minute moments would come where someone couldn't fill a role and or something happened in their lives where they weren't able to. And so I ended up getting qualitative feedback. That's when I first started getting qualitative feedback and starting to getting to know the unique stories of the members. And I feel like it cultivated me and really prepared me to be president because I began to understand the importance of the pathway platform and it's why it was created and that everyone's learning journey and their learning experience is so unique, like a fingerprint. And the goal that's in every single person is different and unique as well. And when I was VPE, I had the honor and the privilege of being able to speak to those individuals who, sometimes they weren't sure if they could take on a certain role. But if I saw that gold in them during a club meeting when they weren't even taking on a role, sometimes I began to learn how you could kind of pick up what someone's gold was, what their strength was, if they were funny naturally. I would say that when I was out to them as VPE and say, hey, remember we were kind of had that little social gathering or get together right before the meeting? You were really funny. Wit doesn't come easy to me or natural. And they could say, really? And I'm like, yes. Did you know you're a storyteller? Because I was really pulled into your personal story when we were speaking one-on-one. And I found that often encourage them to take on a role that they hadn't tried before. And there's something, even though it took time to call everyone, and that's not everyone's style, which I understand. But for me, I think also because I'm a social worker, I really enjoyed it. And it prepared me to be able to more effectively meet the needs of the members as president because I knew their stories, because I knew their journeys, because I began to learn their barriers of even coming to a meeting that they may not
Oh.
share with others.
Yeah, that's so you really worked with people in that role, and actually that showed in what you did as VP president as well, as the president of the club as well. I remember that you have personally so many times called members who have not come to a lot of meetings to just check in on them if things are going fine. Many times, I feel, once you've had a journey in Toastmasters, you zone out for a while thinking, okay, I have done enough. But I was very impressed with the way you kept in touch with a lot of old members by personally investing your time to call them, but also in cases where they had some sort of barriers. We've discussed it as a board, and you really reached out to them, and you really, really have helped people come back to the club and restart or continue their journey, which has been fantastic.
And I'd also like
Yeah.
to say something else that also I feel helped cultivate leadership skills within me is I had to delegate more even as VPE because you cannot, even though I was responsible for putting the agenda together, I quickly began to learn I can't do this by myself. I need help. So often I would call on the executive board to help me. And often, and not just the executive board, but also it taught me how to also delegate responsibility to the members themselves. Because something I learned is at the end of the day, you can create opportunities for roles, for people to fill roles. You can say, oh, I'll make sure I put you in on the slot since you haven't spoken in a long time. But at the end of the day, if they haven't really taken the time to prepare a speech, or they just don't feel ready, you just have to meet them where they're at. And sometimes being able to accept that is that first step. And also giving some ownership to them as a club member that this is your club. You know, you're welcome to come back, and we want you back. But at the end of the day, they have to be ready. And it also has to be a sometimes life. They may have to shift things around with their schedule in order to make that happen. And that did happen. And I was able to see that.
That's wonderful to hear, and it's also wonderful to hear that something like that would have prepared you so well for a president's role because you worked with people. I love the fact that you mentioned that meet people where they are. That's such an important thing, and sometimes overlooked because we all have our own perspectives and experiences, and we think of something as, it has to happen in a certain way, but people's lives and challenges are different. So being a president or being a VP and being able to empathize with that and being able to understand that and be able to patiently reach out to people and be able to help them in that journey is a wonderful thing to do, in my opinion. Tell me something about your president's role now. What were the fun parts of being a president of Princeton Toastmasters? I know it's a lot of responsibility, and we'll get into a lot of those things of what you did or what we did, as a club. But I would want to know, what are the parts you enjoyed the most being the president of Princeton Toastmasters? What are the memories you will take from this year as happy memories for you?
Absolutely. I will definitely say happy memories for me would be our one of the many would be our out of basement meeting. I picked a cruise theme, and that was intentional because in order for a cruise ship to be successful, you've partnered with me on this this initiative as well. And we can talk about more about that later. But it's for us to all work together as a team, and we're all on a journey. And even though may all have different ultimate destinations, we all want to grow in our public speaking journey. But in order for that to happen, we all have to be going in a similar direction and really collaborate and coordinate together. And the strength is in unity. And that out of basement meeting was just wonderful because it's mainly table topics. So you have new members. It also functioned as a membership drive. So we have a lot of our new members actually came from that original out of basement meeting. It was a chance where we basically have a Toastmasters meeting that's not in our usual setting, which is in the basement of a church, and it's outside. And people brought food. Everyone helped decorate. We have some members that a member that specializes in sound. He brought his team, and we had karaoke. It was just a wonderful thing where we could actually just not only just see people's public speaking skills, but also we got the chance to kind of see where, what they were passionate about in terms of bringing cuisine from all over the world. And we had different types of music being played. And it was just a wonderful way to really just celebrate the diversity of our club as well as our drive again to go for the speaking. And it was also a wonderful time where we got to acknowledge the pathways, not just levels, but pathway project completions during that event. Also, just really getting a chance to highlight the accomplishments of our members, which was another sweet moment for me. Another one, I would say, it was the holiday gala. That was another sweet moment as well, where we got to just really enjoy and also honor some legacy members in a really special way, and even had one of our members play on the piano, which we didn't even know. One of our members' sons play on the piano, and that was wonderful. And just to be able to see that full circle, even though he wasn't a member, it was just this idea of us coming together, that community club feel that you still have a place here. Even though you're not necessarily a member, you're still welcome. And a lot of times what happens is when we do that, that person ends up joining us maybe a year from now or a few months later because they had such a wonderful experience. Lastly, I would also say a memorable moment was also the Show Some Love event. It was a Valentine's Day event. Again, I'm a firm believer in acknowledging each member's not just their their not just their level completion, but also their project levels when they completed those. And we were able to present certificates to them right after our area director, Sandy, did a workshop presentation on the new pathway rules, which was really scary that we had to take on the role enhancements. She did a wonderful job in just educating us that. And she actually tag teamed with us in giving out the certificates. And a special moment for me was at the end of that meeting, not just giving them the certificates to our members and watching them light up and just feeling really proud and what they had achieved, but here, having her ask at the end of the meeting, how do I sign up to join this club? That's our area director. I was so honored and again humbled that she just went through how what an amazing experience it was for her, and she wants to join sooner versus later. And I was honored, and also was a good reminder for me that I'm not in it by myself, and this idea that now as president, I can actually have impact on even a larger scale, and someone can see a vision, see what I'm trying to do, and come alongside me and support me in that for the good of the club, not just for my benefit. And even though it does feel good, I think I do enjoy, again, I do get something out of feeling good, helping people, but the idea is for the good of the club. And so those were memorable high points for me as well.
No, though that's well said, because being a member, I have also enjoyed those three events that you talked about. We had a new membership drive out of basement meeting, which is more like a themed event picnic. I would call it a picnic in the sense that you have a lot of food, music, and we're Toastmasters, so there's a lot of speaking and table topics and all of that. But that was a fun meeting. It was very well executed with the theme, and everybody had fun that day. And we got a lot of members. I agree. I also saw that. And then there was around the Christmas, we had the holiday meeting where, everybody was dressed in a Christmassy theme of red, white, and what is the third color? Red and white, I think. There was no
Yeah.
third color. Red and white, and we did up the whole basement, and then we had an exciting games and things, and that surely was a memorable meeting. And also the Valentine's Day. And these meetings highlight the way we function as a community, because at the end of the day, Toastmasters is definitely about speaking confidently, but it is also people also have a sense of community. They also have a sense of pride with the club they're in. And it's exciting to have these events. And one of the things I noticed is that you are a good event planner. You had actually planned these things to the T, and the exciting moments and what can be done. So a round of applause from my side to you on that. That was very well done. My next question is club culture. Like, community is an important part of the sense of community is important for Toastmasters clubs. Uh, as a president, what were some of the top two or three priorities for you to look at the club culture? And every president inherits a certain kind of club climate and culture. Especially our club, Princeton Toastmasters, is a standing club. So there's not many things you would change in that culture. It's positive, it's supportive, and it's, I guess, going on for decades, where we still have a highest member count, and that talks about how people are happy with this club. But when every president comes in, there are things that you want to contribute or look at differently. Was there anything about community and club culture you had as one of your top goals, or some things that you wanted to do differently?
I definitely wanted to. I started getting feedback at the beginning of the club that members wanted to have an experience, wanted to also be able to connect a little bit more also outside the club. And that's when I launched the initiative for the WhatsApp community. It was a community app. So where I actually added all of the Toastmaster memberships numbers, they had the option to be added to that community club WhatsApp group. And that's where it's actually separate from our club, our Princeton Toastmaster clubs social media platforms, et cetera, because the challenge with that is you can't technically, if, for example, if one of our members had this play that he was so excited about all year, we want to support that, right? But we can't use the club platform to advertise for that because it's not club related. And so, however, because we're a community club, we wanted to still have a special space for that, where that could be done without putting the club in jeopardy or compromising anything in terms of what the club represents, because the club doesn't represent a play. However, we would like to support him in his within his play as a community. And we came out in the droves. We were able to coordinate. You helped coordinate that actually, so we thank you for that. And yeah, and that was just one thing. And overall, I would just also say that being open to continuous feedback and using that ship that the
Theme.
ship theme. Yes, thank you. This idea of being able to steer and be able to steer it in a slightly different direction, even though we're going in the same direction, but maybe adjusting course as needed. So when we got feedback, we would receive feedback on, for example, the coach and speak meetings. Like originally, if you remember, it was called mentor mentee meeting, orientation meeting, and got some feedback that maybe we can tweak it a bit. So I actually ended up readjusting it where it just had a little bit of ordinal orientation component, but mostly table topics, with senior members being invited to give feedback. So this idea of being able to adjust, I think, is something that I think is a strength. I know the previous board would do that as well. I think just this idea of how you want to do it specific to your year or the year that you're serving is important, and that the way that's going to bring that you feel that it's going to work best with how you're leading, because we all have different leadership styles. So I think that was my challenge, basically, really realizing that how I lead and seeing my style and really being able to learn that from when I was functioning as VP and build off of that, as well as building off of the feedback that I would get from previous presidents. And I'm so honored they all would just share what their strengths and what their weaknesses were. And because they were transparent and vulnerable with me, I could say, okay, there was like a pass the baton versus us competing with different years. I felt it was more collaborative and it was more supportive, and that's something else that really spoke volumes to who we are as a club. We're one, and so that felt really good.
That's great. That's good to hear some of the new things that you started, and I definitely can say the WhatsApp community group that you started has been received very well by the members. It also offers a quick way to communicate with each other. Somebody's achievement, somebody wins something like Wave Tyndall, one of our members, won District 38 speech contest, and within minutes the information was on the WhatsApp group. So it also adds to that dynamic communication and sharing whatever you want to share versus when it's a formal platform or when you want to send an email to the club, it becomes a little formal and there are far and few emails and communication. But on a WhatsApp group, people are free to share things with each other, and it's wonderful to see. And there's that also is a glue that binds the members together, because there's a faster, more immediate way and more informal way of communication. So thank you for that. I would love to hear a bit more about the Coach and Speak series. I know that you initiated it. I know you innovated on that, and it's benefited a lot of the members. For the sake of people who are watching this podcast, could you just share a bit about what Speak and Coach program is all about?
Absolutely. It originally started off with me noticing that there's a gap. There's a small, like, transitionary gap, which is normal. We've always had that down through the years as a club. When I spoke with other previous presidents in the past. And there's a gap between when someone first joins the club and when they're paired with their mentor and when they actually have access to the system. So this idea was that originally it was this idea of pairing them with their mentor right away. But the challenge with that was that sometimes that's a process, depending on mentorship availability or someone not being able to take on a mentor, or just schedules not really matching up yet, or just someone, or even a new person who's joining may not necessarily know if they want a mentor yet. They want to kind of feel out the club experience a little bit more. They do want to sign up, but they just want to feel out the club membership experience before signing up for a mentor formally. And they want to kind of get to know the community a little bit better before they choose who they want, right? So that's also another piece, because new members don't know who the mentors or mentors are. They don't have, and that's not something that we've implemented. And so at the end of the day, I also created a mentor-mentee navigation tool to kind of help, because that was some other feedback that I had gotten, that like, okay, once we're paired with the mentor-mentee, we're paired, what do we do? So the navigation tool, it's an optional navigation tool that they can pull from to help them kind of navigate goals and like goal points, just milestones, like the ice starting off from the icebreaker, or just taking on small roles such as like a greeter, or just to get what can they start doing, dialoguing with their mentor about. However, prior to that, like I said, there's a gap. Is a transition gap. And so this idea of the coach and speak, that evolved from a place of having senior as well as current attending members being able to come and support newer members and kind of give back, and also function as like an umbrella while they're in that transitionary phase. So initially I was doing it a lot more frequently, but then I also got feedback that maybe not every other week. Again, just being open to feedback and sending those qualitative surveys and just allowing people to tell you what they're thinking and be able to digest it and process it, not necessarily doing everything that you hear, but this idea of being able to discuss it with your board, discuss it with your team, and then execute as needed. And I do feel like we were successful in doing that. Um, and I think that this idea of everyone, having a piece in it, where and simultaneously our other challenge was that we had the role enhancement requirement, which happened also, which was something new that happened in the middle of our executive board year, in addition to some other requirements um, for just being able to get your pathways. So just being able to have those at the base. And so current members as well as senior members were able to actually attend the coach and speak meetings, utilize their skills, and also meet a pathway requirement, whatever pathway requirement they had. And I had the flexibility where they could speak to me in advance and say, hey, Meekah, I really have an evaluation role requirement, or I have to give a certain type of speech, or do have a type of pathway that has an enhancement to it. Can I do it at the coach and speak? And if I can frame it in a way that would help new members? And my answer was yes, absolutely, bring that. And you actually one of those individuals who we were using your orientation that you so beautifully did, that really brought in the cruise theme as a PowerPoint. It touched a little bit on the history of the club, what each role is, what is an odd counter, what's the purpose of even having an executive board, and this idea of being able to give that during that meeting and get feedback. And then also the other piece that developed was eventually allowing new members to take what they're learning in those meetings and actually get up and use it and do table topics. So that's
Yes.
actually how it, like I said, it evolved into coach and speak, where they could actually get up and speak if they chose to. Again, all choice, all optional, but something that definitely benefited new members and longtime members.
Oh, I have seen that initiative firsthand when it started, and a few meetings that I have attended. I was pleasantly surprised to see a lot of new attendees attending the meeting to begin with. Because, when you run an optional 1 day extra, you don't know how many people are going to turn up because lives are busy and you've got another two meetings in the month. But I was pleasantly surprised to see a lot of new members in those meetings, which means that they did find value in it. And it was nice to see the new members. Sometimes it can be intimidating for a new member in a club to start speaking when there are experienced members and there's a certain level of accomplishment the experienced members have. And I think of Coach and Speak as a beautiful platform where a new member can just speak to a very small circle and group of people who are mostly all new as well. And I think just remove some of those inhibitions before they land at a regular meeting and be able to speak. I'm not saying that happens to everyone, but for people who could be very introvert or have a have a huge anxiety about talking in a forum which is larger, I think it worked beautifully. So thank you for that as well.
You're
uh,
welcome.
this year was also very good because Princeton Toastmasters Club got this Smedley Award. I'd love to know from you, for our viewers, what is a Smedley Award and what are the components of Smedley Award? How does a club achieve Smedley Award? Why is it so coveted? Or it's not easy to tick all the boxes of requirements. So tell us a bit about the Smedley Award that the club got this year.
Absolutely. The Smedley Distinguished is the fourth and highest tier of recognition that a Toastmasters Club can receive as of this year, our year, our executive board year, in the Toastmasters International Distinguished Club program. It's named after organizational founder called Ralph Smedley, and it represents an absolute pinnacle of the club's success. And we actually exceeded our our club success points and goals. To achieve Smedley Distinguished as a club, the club must first fulfill 10 DCP, also known as Distinguished Club Program Goals. This covers education, membership, training, and administration targets. So it's actually really putting responsibility on, again, not just the executive board to making sure they're getting their training in when the time is for them to be trained, which ultimately goes down to the members because they need that training to be as effective as they can be in their role that they're carrying for that executive board year. But also membership, this idea of education. So members had to, in order to complete those pathway levels, they had to have an understanding of what those education levels are and what's the purpose of them and why should they even do it, and that wasn't always easy. As well as trainings, we often did many workshops. The other piece of that is maintaining 25 or more members. It's a robust membership base is required by the end of the program year. And lastly, also submitting a club success plan. The document must be submitted to World Headquarters by September 30th. So the idea is juggling. So you're really juggling a few components here. It's not just, again, within executive board, and it's not just one person. Even though we backed each other up, there were times we covered each other as a team and we were a tight knit team. At the end of the day, it can't be just one person. It is impossible for it to be just one person. And honestly, I was humbled, and when I first started president, I thought it was a lot. I thought it was a lot easier than what met the eye, and it was a lot more challenging than I expected, and I was quickly humbled because I was like, oh, we can, yeah, let's have we'll have 150 members by the end of the year. Not as easy as it looks, even though we're a large club. There are so many other components that are outside of your control. And so the idea is that worked for me as president in achieving Smedley Distinguished is really focusing in on the goal, not of just my board members. What's the goal in myself? What am I really good at? What is my strengths? And what is the goal in each one of my executive board members, but also what is the goal in each member in our club, constantly highlighting it, constantly focusing on every member's strength, and really encouraging them and cheering them on, and celebrating every little achievement, no matter what it was. I really feel like that's why you would often see me using the language Toastmaster team community club team. I would refer to us as a larger team because it wasn't just our board carrying it, and we couldn't have achieved it, not just for our board, we couldn't have achieved it without our dedicated members
I
showing up.
completely agree with you. In fact, for the benefit of our viewers, a Smedley Distinguished Club is the highest honor in Toastmasters, and there are not many clubs who get that honor. So it is a teamwork. It is also the club members' dedication of you know continuously growing on their pathways. And as a club, I think that's what gives us a very energized environment of learning and growth. And I see that in all our members. I often say this that a club is only as good as its members, and a member's growth is only as good as the club they are a part of. So it's a two-way street, and I think it works beautifully for our club. Tell me, Mika, this year was also a year that we added a lot of new members. In fact, I was reading somewhere that our club has added the highest number of new members in New Jersey or in the region. And
Yes.
what do you think contributed to that achievement?
I think this idea of definitely your phenomenal out of the ballpark just ability to handle that VPPR role is so well and really execute that in your own unique stunning way. And also I feel every member of our executive board being able to again really hone in on the gold, like really refine and focus in on their skill set. We have another awesome board member, Sunil, who actually launched the Zelle option for the first time with our board. And Kavitha, she actually deals with membership in her real workplace, in her regular professional workplace, and was able to implement that into our Toastmasters program this year for the first time. And it really helped things go to the moon. Immediate past president Randy Hudson was very involved in making sure that sound and audio and visual was right, just always flowing beautifully and easily whenever possible. And our entire board members, I know Raul, Dr. Raul would often step in and and support Kavitha and Sunil in responding to our Toastmasters International inquiries. So they were, because it wasn't just one person, just trying to connect, keep that contact. I think that's what really helped newer members feel seen. And what I also seen also and heard from the survey that I sent out, the end of year feedback that I first sent out for the first time, is that newer members really appreciated being acknowledged and being in a space being created for them to get acclimated to the larger club environment. They really felt like that really helped them get past anxieties or just feeling intimidated, like you mentioned, by a larger club environment. And I also feel that because our club is so supportive and there's this natural warmth feeling that anyone gets when they first come, it's what you and I both experienced when we first walked through the door. That environment, that club culture has still been maintained down through the years, and that's something that's attributed again to the club members, and not just a tight knit executive board, but also club members. And this idea of we've all taken ownership in the success of the club. And even we take ownership in the areas of growth. There are some areas of growth that we still have with regard to retention. And so we're just acknowledging those things and acknowledging that we're going to continue to build off of, again, what previous leaders have done in the past, and the future club will continue to build off of what we've done, our strengths, our weaknesses, and see it as kind of a beautiful collaborative effort. And I think that's definitely what's attributed to that high new member success. And I think we also the unique way that we do it as well. This idea of, again, constantly acknowledging even the smallest achievements. However, when there are those major achievements, we celebrate those as well.
How would you describe this year in one word? One word for this year.
One word. One word. One word for this year.
From your side, how you felt about this year?
Honored. Honored.
Wow.
Honored. Yeah. Honored. It has been an honor to serve you all. And I would definitely say one of the challenges, aside from so many changes happening this year, you already know this. I lost my father after a 3-year battle of illness. And to just see how beautifully the board, our executive board team stepped in to take on things and just kind of allow me to delegate responsibilities to them when I couldn't carry it in certain moments. It just, and also just to see the beauty and just see the individual expressions of kindness from club members. I was humbled and honored, and it has been a joy. And no one knows this. Well, you know this, Rita, because I shared this with you privately. But I'm so glad I continued to serve my entire term, even through that process of losing my dad, because it became like a sweet, special place for me where I could really continue to cultivate something, encourage something that was so beautiful that even my dad admired at a distance when he was alive. And he would see how I lit up when I came from a Toastmasters meeting. And he would sometimes see little clips of video clips of our meetings. And I just feel in many ways that it was something that was beautiful and still is beautiful. And it continues to grow. And this idea that you never know what impact just walking into that room, seeing smiling faces, seeing new members and legacy members getting up there. And we have one legacy member who's literally traveled all over the world, Thane, not to say any names, but experienced clubs all over the world. And he brings those experiences back to us in such a wonderful, special way. And we just have so much gift and talent in the room. And like I said, I just felt like it was just such an honor and a privilege to just have that special place where I could come and see people, meet people where they're at, see where they are in their growing speaking journey, and also be able to experience that myself in the place of a leader and leading this beautiful legacy public speaking club that was entrusted to me to lead for a short period of time. And so again, I just thank everyone and anyone watching this video that was a part of that journey this year. I just want to say thank you to my entire board. Even though I may have ever called each one of your names, I am humbled and honored, and not just the Toastmaster member that you are and that you are determined to keep continuing with your public speaking journey, but who you each are as individuals and people. And I thank you for giving me the privilege to see that and be a part of your growth journey in this small way. And I know the next executive board will have nothing but success as well.
Thank you. Thank you for those beautiful words and the way you summed it up. You're a multifaceted and multi-talent person. We're not going to let you go without our viewers, uh, seeing a bit of your talent on singing. You're a beautiful singer. And I remember at Out of Basement meeting, I was pleasantly surprised. And I thought, I was sitting on a live show somewhere. If you could just sing a couple of lines from any song that is your favorite, it'd be so nice to hear.
Let's see. When I think of home, I think of place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with the things I've been doing. Wind that makes a tall grass bend into leaning. Suddenly the raindrops that fall have a meaning, sprinkling the seams makes it all clear. So
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for singing those lines to us. Thank you for being on the podcast today, Meekah. It's been such a wonderful, interesting, insightful conversation with you. And as you head out as the president this year, thank you for all that you have done. We know that you will be on the board as an immediate past president. So, wishing you all the success for that as well.
Yes, and I picked that song because it has been an honor to call Princeton Toastmasters my home club. And I see you guys not just as members, but also as Toastmasters public speaking family. So thank you for that honor and privilege.
Wonderfully put. We are a family, and that's how the club makes everyone feel. Thank you so much for being on the show.